speaking of drag queens, and again in your neck of the woods, Drea, doesn't support Vancouver Drag Theatre Camp, and they drown out the protesters. Oh, that's a shame, because there's much to protest. But then again, where you live, Drea, it really is ground zero for the loony left, is it not?
Oh, well, yes, the left coast is such a beautiful place. But I was actually there. So we have our report where we're going to show you exactly what happened coming out pretty soon. And there's a little backstory to it. I mean, either way, it is true that the sort of counter protest to a little protest that was happening or planned to happen there would have outnumbered. So I would say there was about 50 counter protesters, and then the protesters, there was only a few. But the backstory to this is there was so much accusations of the group that was going to come and protest this drag camp, a summer drag camp for kids as young as 7 years old on Granville Island. There was so much, there was accusations from IATSE 118 union saying that there were threats of violence. Of course, I called the VPD and they said they've received no such threats. So my point is the protesters kind of outsmarted them in the sense that they're like, you know what, if they want to do this call to action and have all of these people come out and waste their time, we'll just go to City Hall. And so there was another protest. So you'll see in my report, I cover both events. You won't see that in the state-backed media because they don't know what's going on. And you will see who was intolerant there. Of course, I'm sure you could guess which side of the line was intolerant to people.
Give me three guesses and the first two don't count, as the saying goes, Drea. As we've oft discussed, first of all, how did this ever become a thing? I remember clearly the first time I heard of drag queen story time, it was taking place in Kingston. It was 2018, I believe. And it was like so preposterous that I was actually going to go there, buy a ticket, record it, see what's happening. And to our collective shock, it was an immediate sellout. That leads me to the other component of this equation, Drea. What parent in their right mind brings a young elementary school age child to a sexually charged show in which a man is passing himself off as a grotesque caricature of a biological female? Really, I'm not trying to be critical. I'm not trying to be comical. I'm just trying to get somebody to connect the dots, because I'm not against drag queens. I mean, if you're at some gay bar at Church and Wellesley in downtown Toronto in the gay village, or any bar for that matter, if you're the Asian majority and, that floats your boat, well, go for it. Pay the cover, go in, get entertained. It's just not my shtick. But when you bring children into the equation, it's all about age appropriateness for me, Drea. So You're a mother. Would you in your wildest dreams ever bring any of your children down to a drag queen storytime performance?
No, of course. You know the answer. Everybody watching knows the answer to that. But here's the thing, David. It's not just about the parents bringing their kids here, because that's one thing. That's their parenting choice. I don't agree with it. It's the fact that this camp is federally, municipally, it's funded on all levels by our tax dollars.
Yes.
That's the real issue
Good
here.
Point.
So you don't agree with their parenting style. I don't. But why am I paying for gender confusion to be promoted to small children? And that's what's happening is gender confusion. The advertising for the camp says, something along the lines of is drag queen that drag queens for everyone. Right now you're looking with the two pink posters was a bisexual man who showed up to protest it as well. And a lot of the times the people from the LGBTQ community that are showing up, there was actually about 3 out of 5 protesters who were from that community protesting it. A lot of the times what they're saying is if this push from the government, from teachers, from libraries, of this gender confusion was happening when I was young, I would have been transitioned. This is what they believe. They believe that they would have, had their penis chopped off or their breast chopped off simply because they were gay or bisexual or a feminine boy and things like this. So this is one of the things that they are really identifying as a problem. And that's what I think is the issue. And the other thing I say here is that if your kid starts dressing as a drag queen, or even king, I suppose, now they're doing those too, at the age of 7, and they start doing that in school, what people need to understand is that the schools, especially in BC, and we're seeing across Canada, the teachers are now obligated. Basically, they are taught to trans identify your child. If your child is cross-dressing just for fun as a drag, they still will, a lot of them will send them to the counselor. And then they're on this whole path of transitioning, which of course is very confusing for a child. They don't know any better. And it's so colorful. It's so exciting. You get the special community. So this is, in my opinion, it's a gateway. Things like this are a gateway to actually transition and, potentially sterilize, as we've talked about all of these issues at our special website called stopclassroomgrooming.com. Please share that URL because many people are not seeing the other side of the story. However, the bright side is many are. For example, This is not the first drag camp. This is the first one most people are hearing about it. This theater did one last year. There was one in 2019 at another. So these things, just like those Planned Parenthood porn cards we've reported on that were distributed in Saskatchewan, where everybody is paying attention to this issue now, which is great. It's coming to light. But meanwhile, we're finding out from this story that as far back as in 2015, those same cards were distributed in British Columbia to elementary students. So we're just waking up as parents in a society now, and that's a great thing.
Dre, I think it's very important what you said about gay men and lesbian women coming out, denouncing these kind of events, because they realize this is just not a war on heterosexual biological women. It's also a war against gays and lesbians for the reasons you said. Growing up, that gay boy could be determined by the social engineers. Well, obviously, he's a woman trapped in a man's body. Let's get the puberty blockers out. Let's get the genital surgery going. So there are members in that very community that say, whoa, 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 which is no wonder we see the rise of organizations like LGB without the T and Gays Against Groomers, because they get what's going on with this lunatic, radical, trans fringe. There's a real fringe movement for you. Those people who, as far as I'm concerned, should be in a psychiatric unit if we had such things anymore. And, it's odd, Drea. I mean, I was watching the mainstream media coverage of the upcoming, back in June, that was Pride Week. And, the teasers for the report, we reach out to the LGBT community and get them to weigh in on why Pride festivities don't seem so buoyant these days. You know what? I can answer that very succinctly, and it wouldn't be part of the mainstream media reports, Drea. It's this. When you are now going beyond asking for acceptance and tolerance, when you are now demanding affirmation, when you are demanding a double standard when it comes to the rule of law, i.e., going fully naked in a public street in front of children. And if you have something to say about that, you're a transphobe, you're a bigot, you're a hater. What I'm saying is that this radical trans element is going to start a hornet's nest against that whole movement. And you need not look any further than what's happened in recent months south of the border. Bud Light, Anheuser-Busch's stock value, it's down more than $16.5 billion US dollars. Target, that was pushing, transwear for little boys and girls and bikinis where you could tuck your private parts to pass yourself off as the opposite sex. Their stock value down $10 billion. I maintain this is more than about some offensive merchandise. This is more than being offended by Dylan Mulvaney. This is like a line in the sand where mainstream people are saying enough is enough.
That's
Do
what
what
it
you
is.
want in the privacy of your own homes, but get your hands off our kids. And if you want to pretend as a man you're a female and vice versa, okay, good for you. But don't expect me to applaud this. I'll tolerate it, I'll accept it, and I'll ignore it. But if I do so, don't call me the hater. That's where I think we're going. So I think these radical trans people are doing that entire community wrong by their incessant demands, Drea.
Well, they are, and they are a small fringe. And that's the sad part, is like many in the community are going, what the heck? You know, many are like, we fought for equality. We have gay rights now. We can do all of these things. What is this about? And it's unfortunate to see it. So
that's a clip from something we call Rebel News Daily. It's our daily live stream hosted by my friend David Menzies, but the show also includes a rotating cast of hosts and special guests, including me. It's a great way for us to talk about the news of the day as the news is happening in an unscripted fashion, and it's an awesome way for you to interact with us as well. We stream every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain, wherever you find Rebel News. See you there.